The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Longview, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32368. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting on the passenger side face of the bumper, you'll find an air horn. Located just inside of that location, you'll find your electronic siren and PA speaker. Moving to the driver's side of the vehicle, face of the front bumper, you'll find your mechanical siren. And moving just outside of that location, you'll find your second air horn. Moving on to the bumper extension, you'll find an emergency warning light on the passenger and driver's side. Moving up onto the bumper itself, you'll find a 2.5-inch discharge swivel mount, and you'll also find the tubbed storage location for that hose. Moving up onto the face of the apparatus, you'll find on the right and left side emergency warning lights. Just above that, the headlight cluster, which houses low and high beam. High beam is the inner beam, and the outside is the low beam. Moving up from that, you'll find an emergency warning light, red, and then on the outer edges, you'll find your turn arrow. You'll also find 3 windshield wipers across your seamless one-piece windshield. All the way up to the top, the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 running lights. Directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. And moving up onto the top of the roof, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Let's take a close-up look at some of the items. On the outer edges on the sides, you'll find 2 forward-facing or side-facing marker lights. You'll also find emergency warning lights mid-location on the apparatus. And at the very top in the back section, above the top of the cab, is where you'll find your side-facing floodlights. There are also grab handles on the side to assist firefighters in and out of the cab. This is that 2.5-inch discharge swivel. And then as we look inside, you'll find your tubbed storage location with Velcro straps on top. As we look at the headlight cluster, you'll see on the inside is your high beam, the outer beam is the low beam. Let's move up to the top of the apparatus. There are 2 forward-facing floodlights on each side of your ladder. Large diameter discharge in the center. Let's move to the outer edge. You'll find your chainsaw scabbard. And then as we move further down, you'll find this lever, which is allowing you to lower the nozzle location to a different fly section. Let's move to the side of the apparatus. This is on the driver's side. This is your Kusmal electronic auto charger. When plugged into shore power, this will activate. As we mentioned, on the opposite side, this is the side-facing floodlight up at the top. And then down at the lower section, this is a mid-location emergency warning light on the side. We'll cover some of the other items further on as we move along, but first, your vehicle is equipped with a keyed locking system, and once again, grab handles on each side of the door areas for access. Let's go midsection here. We'll talk about these 3 crosslays and also a dead load. First, we'll start with a 2.5-inch in the gray area. You also have a dead load here. Moving to the right, you'll find a 1.5-inch discharge crosslay number 1, and then you'll also find discharge crosslay number 2. As we move further to the right, you'll find a grab handle for convenience, and also further to the right, you'll find an additional access panel. We'll talk about what's in that area as we get around to that after it's in the open position. Just a quick view here of your pump panel. We'll identify the items first starting in the upper left-hand corner. This is the gray area, which is your master intake. Moving to the right, you'll find your master discharge. Underneath that, you'll find 2 test gauge ports. This is for vacuum and pressure. They currently have plugs in those, and this is for when you're performing your pump testing. Moving further to right in the gray section, you're going to find your Pierce throttle pressure governor module. Just a couple of items as we move to the right.
Unless this green light is on, you can see the warning here, do not open throttle unless the light is on. That will indicate in green. Just beneath that, you'll find a speaker system for audible alarms. Moving further to the right, if you've exited the cab and your pump is engaged, you'll find this light engaged, and in the on position, it will be green, indicating your pump is properly engaged. Above that is a light switch for your panel lights. Beneath that, you'll find a generator start, stop, and preheat switching. And then at the very bottom, you'll find your driver's side floodlight, and then beneath that, the passenger side floodlight. Moving further to the right of this gray section, you're going to find some starting instructions here for that generator operation. And then just beneath that, you'll find your engine cooler. It's a twist, not a pull. And then as we move all the way to the far right, you'll find your priming system. There is a caution label underneath that, and I suggest that you seek the owner's manual for more information. As we look down beneath that section, you'll find a set of valves. These are clearly marked, and also they are color-coded. Beneath that, you'll find an additional set of valves, clearly marked and color-coded. And in the upper right-hand corner, you'll find your aerial discharge. Moving further to the right, you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line. Just underneath that, you'll find your tank to pump. And then under the tank to pump, you'll find this blue module. This is your water level, indicating the amount of water in your tank. Let's move down to the next section. You'll find two 2.5-inch discharges here. As I move to the right, you'll also find this warning label regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards while removing a cap under pressure. And then you'll also find the Pierce American flag Eagle. This is your large diameter pump intake. To the right, we'll talk about this a little bit more in great detail. This is a placard from Pierce regarding your testing. And then this is your instructions here regarding the minimum operation maintenance schedule. Down at the very bottom left, you'll find a danger label indicating not to ride on the side of your apparatus, and also there's the possibility for electrocution hazard because of that aerial device. Lower in the left corner, you'll find your discharge drains, and then you'll also find a warning label here regarding only trained personnel should operate this equipment. Just beneath that, you'll find a 2.5-inch intake. This is a female coupling. And then to the right, you'll find your Watrous placard indicating the type of pump and transmission. Further to the right, you'll find your pump drain, and then beneath that, you'll find your pump shift. Let's move up back to the top area, first to the Pierce maintenance schedule. This is for the 150, 200, and 250 test pressures. You'll find the associated GPMs on the left-hand side, and then on the right side, the coinciding RPMs. Also, the job numbers listed on the upper left-hand corner. Moving down to the right, you'll find your Watrous placard. We'll cover this in more detail. And the left side, you'll find an auxiliary side auxiliary drain. Once again, this is the Watrous placard, pump style CSU, and it also has the date of manufactured. This is your 2.5-inch intake. There's one on the opposite side of your vehicle also. These are the 4 discharges for number 1, number 2, number 3, and also the crosslays. As you have underneath, this is a pull-out style flip-out step, which allows you to gain access aloft. You can also gain access into this compartment. Let's go ahead and move back down to the panel area. First, just aside from where we were looking earlier in the diamond plate covered panel, you'll find your electrical panel. This is for G1, which stands for generator. You'll find this in 1, 2, and 4 are the electrical outlets for it. There's also some warning labels here regarding electrical shock. As we move further to the right, down in the lower bottom, you'll find the continuous power rating supply for this module. On the left of the outrigger, you'll find a crush warning label. This is in case of movement of that. There is the possibility of crush. On that device, there's also an emergency warning light on the outer section. As we move inside the compartment, your dividers do pull out. There is a release mechanism in the lower right corner. You'll also find just under the Longview logo on the body a side-facing floodlight. Would like to point out a couple of things. Starting down in the lower left corner behind this panel, you'll find a blue cap, which is your DEF fill location. You'll also find once again that danger sticker regarding electrocution and hazard. Moving to the right, you'll find a SEBA bottle compartment. This has capability of 4, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And then up in the dual wheel compartment up here, you'll find a tool board. This is a release mechanism, but there's also a release once it's pulled in the open position to restore it back. And I have another image for that. Once again, your DEF level tank here, 4.5 US gallons. As we move further to the right, this is that release mechanism that I referred to earlier, and you do have two tool boards that do open. In the center of this compartment, you'll also find additional storage for SCBA bottle storage. As we move further back, you'll find LED lighting in all of your compartments, and some of those compartments will have adjustable shelves. Moving up to the very top of the walkway area, you'll find a removable floodlight. Down back in the lower corner behind the wheel, you'll find your silver DEF ultra low sulfur diesel fuel. In the upper right, you do have a pull-out shelf. The release mechanism is what we're trying to look at there. And at the very bottom, there is also another release mechanism on the black hinged portion. As we move further down in this compartment, you'll find on the left-hand side, when plugged into shore power, that outlet will activate, and it's also under generated power. Underneath this location, you'll also find your stabilizer pads on the passenger and driver side. Once again, warning label regarding the crush injury. And beneath that, you'll find also that emergency light. There is also a do not ride on the side of your apparatus while it's in motion. That's what this sticker is for. Just a quick view of the side of the apparatus, and then we'll move all the way around to the rear section of the apparatus, and we'll identify the items here. Let's first start down in the lower corner on the outside edge. You'll find additional lighting on the exterior. These are your running lights. As you move inward of that location on the body, you'll find your brake, turn, emergency light, and also a backup light. Moving up to the top, you'll find the location for your plug for shore power. And then above that, you'll also find emergency warning lights on the passenger and driver side. You'll also find on the passenger and driver side rear scene lights. That's what we're indicating here. And then as we move further down, you'll find once again, because of the pressure, a warning sticker regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards. Moving just inward of that location, you can see currently it has duct tape on it, so we don't get any debris inside. That is your large diameter pump intake. Moving up from that, you'll find a gauge. And then slightly to the right, you'll also find an inclinometer from left to right. As we move just up to the top left side, you'll also find two cupped switches. We'll cover those in a few moments. I've got some close-ups of those. You'll also find two attachment points or locations for attaching tow hooks. There is 2 warning labels on each of those. Please seek the advice of the owner's manual. You'll also find a pan door. This is your access point for the aerial drain. And then in the center compartment here, we'll have some more images of that, but this is where all your overrides are located. In the upper right-hand corner here above the license plate, you'll also find a control module, and then you'll find access to your hose bed. Once again, there are some warning labels here. Danger also for electrocution, and also not riding on the side of the apparatus. And there's also an entanglement sticker here that the hose is coming off the back. There is the possibility for entanglement. Rear scenes and also hose bed lights. There's these 2 switches here. A couple close-ups here. You can see first your shoreline inlet. As we look to the very bottom, you can see somewhat of that warning label regarding the location and how to pull from those anchor points. And as we look inside, this is the location for the aerial drain. As we move up from that location, you'll also find the relief valve and the outer section here for how you can set the relief pressure. As we look to that center compartment, you're going to find some danger and some warning labels here, but I'd also like to point out the color-coded controls here. On the upper left-hand corner is the aerial control and stabilizer selector switch. You'll select which one you want to operate and then move through the valves from there. As we move all the way to the right side, the smaller compartment, this is what houses your control module, also has the emergency stop and overrides, and also your diagnostic USB interface. This is in the upper right-hand corner. This gains access to your hose bed. As we move around the corner here, you'll find a release mechanism in between the ladder. This allows that ladder to drop down so that you can gain access above. When the ladder is in the down position, you'll also find additional access behind the ladder area. As we move up onto the top of the aerial device on the ladder, you'll find these 4 stripes indicating the ladder is properly stowed. Let's go ahead and move now to the pedestal. A couple of warning labels here regarding electrocution and also crush. As we look to the forward section as the access panels, above that you'll find an additional audible speaker. This is for a warning device. And then as we move up onto the top, you'll find your communication speaker here for the person at the tip. This is your push to talk and also volume control location and also audible speaker. As we lift the lid, you'll find a control module. In this control module on the left, you'll find your emergency stop mushroom. You'll also find multiple switches. One, your tip lights, that's at the tip of the ladder. Your tracking lights will be those 4 floodlights that we identified earlier. And then also ladder illumination, which illuminates the entire side rails of your ladder. Down at the very bottom, you'll find an aerial speed for normal or fast function. And then to the right, you'll find your emergency hydraulic power. Further to the right, you'll find an additional display information screen. This has a tremendous amount of information right at your fingertips. I would recommend that you seek your owner's manual for more information. Moving further down, you'll find this section 3 areas of control. First, the stowed and deployed, and also an indicator if your nozzle is stowed. And then also nozzle control for the stream, also for stream and fog, lower and raise, right and left. And then you'll also find your ladder controls. As we look to the cover itself on the Ascendant, you'll find a couple of items here I'd like to point out. Waterway dry and also waterway charged. Those are bar graphs to help you recognize for load capacities. There's also an asterisk area down at the lower bottom that you should seek if you're in cold climates. Up at the very top, you'll find your specification and setup per NFPA 1911 testing. And as we look at those control modules down at the lower section, this is also your emergency overrides. You'll find your extend or extension, and also your rotation, and also elevation. You'll also find a calibration module here, and I would strongly advise you seek your owner's manual prior to operating any of this. On the ladder itself, you'll find your inclinometer for climbing from -10 to 80 degrees. On the left side, you'll find a 16-foot roofer. Moving to the right side of the base of the ladder, you'll find storage container. Let's move to the ladder itself. At the 4th fly, you'll find fold-down steps. Moving up to the tip of the ladder, on the left side, you'll find the tip lights switch. And to the center section, you'll find the release mechanism to allow you to remove the waterway from the 4th fly to a lower position. You'll also find nozzle controls and also your intercom. This is your nozzle control. This is the switch for your tip lights that we previously talked about. Intercom system. Just a general view looking at the tip of the ladder, and then we'll start back into the conversation with the rest of the compartments. We're going to move to the right side rear. You'll find a pull-out shelf in this location with the access release on the right side. Moving just forward of this location, you'll find additional storage and LED lighting. You have additional bottle storage behind the rear wheels. Moving forward in between the rear wheels, you'll find additional bottle storage, 4 bottles, and then moving up on top, you'll find that danger sticker regarding electrocution hazard. You'll also find a shore power outlet. It's a 20 amp. This is the same configuration as it is on the left-hand side of the apparatus. We'll move forward to the next compartment just in front of the rear wheel. You'll find a danger electrocution hazard because of it being an aerial device. As we move down, you'll also find an additional warning label here. This is a warning label regarding your diesel exhaust, and if you park close to something, be cautious. It's extremely hot. In the upper section here at the very top, you'll find an access panel. We'll talk about that in a moment. You'll also find the push button for your electrical rewind. You also have 2 shelves in this location that pull out. First, this one at the very top section here. It releases on the right-hand side, and then at the very bottom also. In addition, in this compartment, you'll find an additional shore power outlet, 120 volts, 20 amp outlet. This is the reel reset just inside this compartment door. This is for the motor of the reel, and you can see it's labeled just inside the compartment. This is the compartment that houses your reel. Just above that, you can see that you have a junction box. This is the outlet I previously talked about, 20 amp, when plugged into shore power. Let's move now to the pump panel. On the upper left-hand corner, we'll find that warning label regarding not riding on the side of the apparatus. There are also two 2.5-inch discharges on this side. Moving down, you'll find two access panels. We'll talk about those in just a moment, where I have some pictures that show what's inside. The Pierce American Flag Eagle is going to be your large diameter pump intake. To the right, you'll find this green. This is your large diameter discharge. Moving down, or just between the two, you'll find an additional warning label regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards with opening those caps. And down at the very bottom, you'll find all your associated drains for the items on this side of the pump panel. You'll also find your cab lift in the lower right corner, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's take a quick look. This is the even side, so you have passengers 4 and 2 for discharges. In the first smaller compartment, you'll find your relief valve, the setting screw. To the right, you'll find additional access into the pump panel. As we move further down, this is that lower right side. This is your cab lift. Please follow the instructions and also seek the caution and danger information. And then a close-up here of your associated drains. Let's move up higher. You'll see the grab handle in addition with the 4 loads that you have for your crosslays. We're now inside the cab. At all points of entry in your vehicle, you'll find additional warning labels here regarding the use of seatbelts. You also have a firefighter assist strap, which will allow you to gain access in and out of the cab a little easier. Located in the center, you'll find a drop-down access point. This will gain access inside the back of the motor so that you can check your oil and transmissions. General view, 2 forward-facing seats with fold-down. Looking overhead, the AC unit. You also have the push-on and off red and white lights in the back. We're now in the front section of the cab. You'll find the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. You'll also find this access panel. Moving up to the side of the apparatus, additional grab handle here, and also you can see a little close-up here of the windshield wipers. But let's move to the left-hand side. This is inside of the officer seat. You'll find the air horn, mechanical siren, and siren brake. You also have a 12-volt barrel-style access here. And then I would like to point out these red candy cane labels here. These are indicating that there are spare wires behind there, and they're clearly identified. Close-up of the 3 push buttons here for the air horn, mechanical, and siren brake. Overhead of the officer seat, you'll find your front scene, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, rear scene, and ground lights. Just to the left of this location, you'll find your Firecom wireless base. And then moving just outside the notched area, you'll find your AM/FM weather radio. In addition, you'll find those spare wiring behind the panel. Just up from that, you'll also find your Firecom control module. We'll now move to the driver's section of the vehicle. We'll start first at the points of entry. You have those warning labels. In addition, with a warning label regarding seatbelt usage. Seatbelts are red in color for easy identifiable for all personnel. And then I'd like to direct you down to about the right ankle of the operator. You'll find this yellow placard manufactured by Pierce Manufacturing for Longview Fire Department. This has the date of manufacture, gross vehicle weight ratings. It also has your job number, VIN number, in addition with all of the fluid capacities for the components, the fluid capacity, and the fluid type. Let's move down to the stepwell area. You'll find your air inlet, and then you'll also find the air shutoff and air outlet. As we move to about the left foot of the operator, you'll find the push pedals for the air horn and mechanical siren. We'll move just inside of the cab, and you'll find your master battery switch, which is the silver switch. To the right in green, your engine transmission and ABS diagnostic port. And then you'll also find all your ABS diagnostics, DPF, regen, engine diagnostic, and also your regen switch. Up from that location, you'll find the interaxle differential lock. When locked, it'll be lit red. As we move to the dash area, left side, you'll find the ignition switch and then the start switch just above that. Just inside from that location in the small area next to the steering column, you'll find a set of switches. First here, this one, EM, stands for Emergency Master. This is an Emergency Master at your fingertips. You also have your headlight control and then panel rocker dimmer switch. That's for brightening and dimming the panel lights on the dash. Let's move down to the right side of the column. You'll find your pump shift. There are two green indicators here, one pump engaged and the other is okay to pump. The instructions from going from road to pump or from pump to road are clearly indicated on this. You must exit the cab with two green lights to engage your pump at the pump panel. To the right and just above that, you'll find your high idle indicator and also the high idle indicator light. And then just to the right of that location, you'll find your main mirror and your convex mirror controls. Let's take a look at the dash. On the left, you'll find your transmission, oil, DEF level, and water temperature. In the center, you'll find your tachometer and speedometer. And then to the right, you'll find your volts, fuel, front air and rear air, and then diagnostic information between the speedometer above and below. General view here of the second section of your dash area. As you look to the right, you'll find your seatbelt control module, red indicating someone is in the seat and not belted, green, they are belted. Below that, you'll find your pull to apply your system parking brake, which is in yellow, and push to release. To the right of that, you'll find your Allison transmission pad. As we move up to the set of switches, first aerial master, aerial PTO. These are two indicators for aerial PTO engaged and stabilizers are not stowed. To the right, you'll also find your mirror heat and your load manager. Down to the next set of switches, the red switch here is your siren brake. Moving to the right, you'll find your engine brake, which is an on-off, and then you'll find the settings low, medium, and high for that engine brake. You do have a protected hit switch here for differential lock and differential lock activated, and also your load manager. To the right, you'll find the push to apply your fluid for your windshield wiper and also control speeds. In the front, in the gray, red, and blue section is your climate control. Above that, this is going to be left side of the driver. This is your placard indicating 12 feet 2 inches high, length of 41 feet 1.5 inches, and the gross vehicle weight rating of 68,000 pounds. Let's move to the right of this location. There's a set of rocker switches here. Let's start on the left and move across. First, your emergency master, which is the same emergency master as it is on the dash. You have your roof light, front warning light, side warning light, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning. When those switches are activated, you'll find the green indicator light in the on position. To the right of those switches, you'll find your high beam flash, front scene, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, and then of course rear scene and your ground lights. From this location, let's move slightly to the right, once again overhead, and you'll find your PA system and also your siren control for your electronic siren. Further right, which we mentioned earlier, which is your fire comm module. And then as we look down, overhead, you'll find the push on and off red and white lights along with your air conditioning unit. Once again, this is in the very back of your apparatus, just to highlight that you do not need to tilt the cab to check your engine oil or to check the transmission. That's what this access point is for. And as we move through the cab, we'll identify a few more items. Let's move in between the rear seat here and the back seat. This is your auto charge system, and then just above that, you'll find when plugged into shore power, this electrical box will be activated. Moving to the driver's side, you'll find an additional SCBA storage location. Let's move back up. You'll find some LED lights. These are those illumination lights that are currently on in the blue. As we move to the very rear pedestal, I just wanted to point out when it's on, this is kind of the information that's first displayed. The ladder is in the up position. You'll find easy access to the water fill location, and then you'll also find access to your electrical cord reel. Let's move forward into the dunnage area, is where you'll find your generator. There are some warning and danger stickers here. Please be advised by those. As we move through some of the items here, this is the oil fill location. This is the cap for filling the oil. And then as we move just up from that location, you'll find the engine oil check dipstick. And then moving down all the way to the other side where those hoses are coming through, that's your fuel shutoff. Moving back up to the control module on the black section, this is your on and off for top mount if you choose to start it that way. This is the instructions and also start and stop. Let's move to the center section. This is with the hatch in the closed position. Let's look forward with the ladder in the up position. There are two stickers here regarding that this is a very slick surface, and be cautious when you're walking. Congratulations, Longview, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32368. If you have any questions, I advise you to direct those to your Pierce or Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.